cactus and succulent growers, it's Lynn, and welcome to part 2 of my cacti and succulent collection that I have here in my polytunnel. And first of all, I want to apologise for the late part 2. When I did part 1, it was probably about 2 weeks ago now, and I said that I was going to be doing part 2 in the next few days, but the weather has been sort of bitterly cold here and it hasn't been practical to get into the polytunnel until now, so apologies for that. If you haven't seen part 1 of my cacti and succulent collection polytunnel tour, then do check that video out. I'll link that video up above and also be down below in the video description. So in part 1, I did all this side of the table here and did an update. I'm just going to run through a little bit of what's happened since with the plants, and then this part 2 now I'm going to be carrying on from the top all the way down up to here. And first of all, I said the weather has been bitterly cold, and I am still waiting for the majority of my slumbergers, commonly known as Christmas and Thanksgiving cacti, to open up their blooms. As you can see, they're still in bud, and they've been sitting in bud now for the past few weeks. The buds are getting bigger, lots of different colours, which I'm happy to see, because I notice sometimes I buy a lot of different types of Slumbergera flowering ones, or I have done over the years, and they seem to always end up pink or red, but this year it looks like I'm getting more of their true colours, which is very good. And I've got my white flowering one as well, still in bud, and I do have my, just come and show you over here now, because the sun is coming through onto the roof. When I lift the camera up, it does go a little bit in shade, so apologies for that, but I have these ones that have been blooming. This is a lovely two-tone one, absolutely gorgeous bloomer, and a mixture of different types in here. These have been blooming lovely as well. They've been blooming lovely for a few weeks. And also this other Slumbergera as well in bud, lovely pink. Show you around there, that one's been flowering, a lovely shocking pink one, gorgeous. And my big Slumberger truncata Thanksgiving cactus, my very old one that's about 70 years old, that is still in bud as well. And some of the buds have been falling off, I think, because it's been cold. As I mentioned in part 1 video, and I mentioned many times when I'm doing my videos, we have a heater here that is set at 5 Celsius, so it comes on if the temperature drops to 5 or below. So the plants are always kept pretty much topped up. But we had a very bitterly cold spell at the beginning of December, and also another one again last week, and it has been a bit of a stress on the plants. I had my Matucana that got a bit of cold damage, and I did a video the other day about that, and I have took that into the house now and keeping it warm, but it sort of had the sort of orange markings on. That's the only one I've seen that's had any real damage. However, saying that, a lot of damage doesn't show up on plants until a few weeks later, but they're looking pretty much okay. So it's a bit of an update of what's happened since the part 1, and again, apologies for being late with the part 2. Now I just want to show you this, a bit of an update on this cactus here. This is one of my Trichocereus pacanois, and believe it or not, this isn't actually from the cold damage. It looks terrible, but we had a very, very hot summer last year, and this was in our other white polytunnel, and it got very, very hot in there, and that's when I noticed all these black markings, and this is due to the alkaloids in these type of Trichocereus cacti. The good news is it's starting to heal over, and I've put some powder on it, some copper powder as well, and it's not getting any worse. If it does look pretty bad in the spring, I'll give it the chop it down, and then I think I might do that anyway, because it's going to look more aesthetically pleasing. But I've also made a video on this black oozing sap and the scarring and everything that these Trichocereus cacti do. So if you've had this happen to yours, cold weather and high heat can cause this, and any type of environmental damage and things, then do check out that video I have made on that. Links will also be up above and down below. So there we go, a little bit of an update on what's on this side. Other than that, pretty much everything is resting now. So it's coming up to the end of January, and there's not much happening at this time of year, still a bit too early. Bit of an update on the blooms there on the Crassula one, the giant form. They're still blooming, absolutely gorgeous. And I do have some buds also coming up on some of my echeverias, such as the setosa, as I mentioned when I did the part 1 video. Anyway, enough of my waffle. I'm going to start off then on this side here. Now, first of all, this is the majority of our opuntias, commonly known as the prickly pears, and they're sort of just all over wintering now as well, pretty much dormant, not much happening. Bit of a mess here because I've got these mother of thousands that just grow everywhere in the pots, and as you can see, but I'm going to be coming here in the springtime anyway, sort of March, when it starts to warm up, and doing a bit of a revamping here and a big pruning of the opuntias and trying to make a bit more space and make it look a bit more aesthetically pleasing, but I'm going to be leaving that till the spring. And here I've got my crassulas, my crassula jade plants, and there's 4 different types here: crassula ovatas and the crassula ovata golem there. Now, they didn't flower this year, and I think it's purely because they don't get enough light in the polytunnel. This polytunnel is sort of green tinted, and they're a little bit because they're on the floor, a little bit under the table as well. When I had these in my conservatory where it had full light, they'd flower in the winter time. So that's sad. But the most important thing is that they overwinter okay, and they're doing pretty much all right there. Here I have some more opuntias there, again all resting. Here I mentioned my Schlumberger truncata too, all in bud. Little agave under there, and I have my big golden barrel. That's looking pretty good. That's probably going to need a repot this year into a wider pot. As you can see, it's overhanging at the sides, and I am not looking forward to repotting that in the spring. But guys, when I do, stay tuned for a very funny video when I do, and I'll also share some tips on how to repot extremely spiny cacti like this as well. And here I have my Trichocereus scopulicolas as well. I've got quite a few different types of Trichocereus cacti here, mostly Pachanoi and scopulicolas and different types of hybrids, very tall, and they don't really do much this time of year. They're just resting, and hopefully I should see some buds on them in the summertime. This is a Pachycereus pringley there, and I've got a very tall Pachycereus pringley here that's actually taller than me, and more Trichocereus, very tall Trichocereus scopulicola here. This is actually touching the ceiling, and because we do have some very tall Trichocereus plants, I don't know what we're necessarily going to do, because once they touch the polytunnel, then I'm sort of stuck. May have to see if the botanic gardens in Belfast would let us hire out some space in one of their greenhouses out the back where we can have some of our extra tall plants, because I really don't want to cut them down, because I love them when they're tall. Let's see what happens. Now, yep, more here, the big spiny Trichocereus Trichocereus peruvianus, and that is a beautiful, very multi-spined one. And as I do have quite a few cacti and succulents inside the house as well, but that'll be another video in the future. And a bit of a scan around. Another Trichocereus here as well. This is one that my partner Hans has grown from seed, so gorgeous. Big Echinopsis here, multiple headed, very old plant. This is probably over 50 years old as well, possibly even 70, I have no idea, but I know that there's a long history to this one. A very old plant. Here I have some of my epiphyllums overwintering under the polytunnel table here. Another big Trichocereus grandiflorus here, growing like a big snake there. And I hope you can see, guys, because in the winter time we put all the plants that we have out in the yard in here, and it's a little bit awkward to film when I'm trying to reach everything. Now here we have a lot of our Echinopsis plants and Tephro-cacti all at the back. As I say, there's really not much happening with these, so nothing coming into bud, and I hope you can just see a bit of a scan around there with the Tephro-cacti. Echinopsis, different types here. This one is a Gymnoclysium horse tea, and this is not looking good. It's looking very shriveled, so I don't know, I'll have to have a look at that in the springtime and get it out, because it's looking very sickly. I think that could possibly be a goner, maybe from the cold spell. And this as well, little Echinopsis subdenudata, also not looking good, very yellow. I think that also could be a casualty, but we'll see. All the others look pretty good. And I'll just take you around here. As well, these are some Echinopsis subdenudata seedlings that I've grown from seed. Little cuties, they're doing well there. Other different types of Echinopsis, all different varieties. Then here we have some Echino Cactus, commonly known as the big golden barrels, which, as I showed you, that's the most common one, the golden barrel there. These are the white spine varieties, Echino Cactus grusonis, the white spined, absolutely gorgeous, as you can see. More Echinopsis, different varieties there. That one has a great big seed pod that's going to be ready for the harvesting in the spring. And here, some more of the Tephro Cactus varieties there as well. More Echinopsis. This is the only euphorbia that I actually keep in the polytunnel. And that's because this is the Euphorbia horrida. And I found that this is one, as long as it's kept dry, that tends to cope with cold temperatures, a minimum of 5, really well. Now, most euphorbias have to have a minimum of 10 Celsius, 50 degree Fahrenheit. But this one is the only one I find can cope pretty well without any problems at all. At the back, I have my Astrophytums there, and another big Puntia subulata, couple of them, the big tall one there. And then I have my lovely Parodia magnifica, the multi-headed, a multi-pupped I should say, specimen as well, still holding onto last year's dried up flowers. And what I'm going to be doing as well, as I say, normally in January I'll be coming in and filming a lot more videos in here for you guys. I'd be doing, for example, jobs you need to be doing in January and planning for the spring, but it has been so bitterly cold, it's just been unbearable, and I didn't want to come in and spend too much time in here, so apologies. But stay tuned for lots of videos coming up very soon. And another Parodia magnifica there, and Echinopsis. As I say, my updates are usually a bit more interesting when it comes towards when it's the spring or summer and there's a lot more in flower, but it's good to show you everything seems to have got through pretty much okay with the cold spell. As I mentioned, because I do have a heater, I do try and aim to keep it at minimum of 5C, which is 41 degree Fahrenheit in here, but it was struggling to keep the temperature at 3C when we had the bitterly cold spell, and even last week when it went very cold. So they're all doing well. At the back there I've got my this is one I nickname Einstein. This is Cephala seriostinalis. That's a gorgeous wacky woolly one. This one here is one of my Espostoas, another lovely old one as well. And here I've got a mixture of many Raybusias and other types as well. These are all grown from C. Cactus jugensis. All seem to have got through the winter so far pretty much okay. Fingers crossed. And then these are all my Camaserius camelobivia, commonly known as the peanut cacti. They are all doing well. They're very cold hardy as well. No problems with these. I know many growers who keep them in a totally unheated greenhouse and no problems, even with this cold spell. And here is a clyster cactus. Clyster Cactus winterian. It's one of the cristated forms, monstrose. Awesome, isn't it? I love it. And then here, Notocactus rosaletus. This one, Stenocactus. And that one at the back is another Camaserius there. There's another Raybusia. And this one here is Telocactus bicolour. Here, another Parodia. And I say it would take me way too long to actually mention all the individual names of all of these. So if you see any particular cactus that I'm showing you that appears in this video, do let me know in the comments down below and I can do my best to ID it for you. Here as well, this is a lovely Parodia. This is my Parodia Chrysocardon rubra orange flame as well. It's just a gorgeous one, I love it. Here, Raybusia albipilosa. That one has beautiful sort of beautiful orangey red flowers, and I'm hoping this will flower this year for me. It hasn't flowered for a couple of years. Ever since I repotted it, it's just popped out like crazy, but it seemed to have stopped it from flowering. But hopefully, because it has been so cold as well, that might also encourage more flowering this year. My Mammillaria plumosa, absolutely beautiful. And this one actually, when I did come in the December time, it was actually coming into bud, but it doesn't look like there's any signs of buds now on that, so they've obviously come off somehow. But the plant itself's doing okay. And these are my Mammillarias. Mammillaria spinosima, red-headed Irishman. Very appropriate for here because I live in Belfast. And this is gorgeous, sort of lovely red spines on it, full of seed pods as well, so I'm going to be taking them off in the spring. Now I just want to show you this Mammillaria here that is resting on the floor against the table leg in the polytunnel. The reason why I've got this one on the floor, this is my Mammillaria formosa, and it grows bendy. It keeps twisting around even in the winter time when it should be pretty dormant. It still tends to have a habit of leaning over. So I've got it resting there because I have not able, well, especially when it's been so cold, to come in here all the time. I've had to just leave it there, so it's resting in sort of straight up on the table leg. But in the spring I'm going to make a little cage for it to give it some type of support because it is bendy. And I've also done a video on why is your cactus bending over, because these type of Mammillaria cacti do love to grow. As you can see, this one here is leaning over, bending. That's completely normal. It's what these type of cacti do. The only time you need to worry is if it's starting to go soft or it's rotting at the bottom and the cactus is falling over, but that's a different thing. As you can see, this one here is another Mammillaria spinosima variety, and when I got that it was more sort of that size, and then as it grows it leans over the side of the pot. That's normal. And if you want a bit more information on that, I've made a video on why is my cactus bending over. So do check that video out. I'll link that up above and down below as well. But that's a normal thing to happen. More types here of Mammillarias as well. This one, it was not doing too well. I had to put some fungicide powder on that, as you can see. Now this is Mammillaria competrica, and it was pretty much okay there, but I noticed it had a little bit of what looked like black rot on one of the little pups, so I had to put some powder on it, some fungicide powder, and it seems to have stopped it. So I do think the cold has affected quite a few of the plants, but so far the only one that's got any real damage has been the Matucana. More Mammillarias there. But as I say, cold damage or any of the stress tends to show itself up after a few weeks, so I won't really know until the spring. I know a lot of people that, a lot of my friends here, even on YouTube, have had some losses with their plants because it has been so bitterly cold. Now here I've got a mixture of all my Gymnoclisiums and Parodia there. They're overwintering pretty much okay. These two I've got in the pot because I have to pot them up in the spring. But they're all doing okay, as you can see there. And then here are my Ferrocacti. These two at the back, and this is one of my lovely old big Ferrocacti as well. All different varieties. Seem to be doing pretty much getting through this winter okay too. Some little seedlings I have on there. And then I have some aloes at the back there, some large aloes. My aeniums I've got as well jotted about on there. And then I have some epiphyllums as well, some younger ones, mostly seedlings, all under there on the shelves, and some more little aeniums. And then here I'm just going to show you, when I mentioned in part 1, I also mentioned that my Rhipsalis pilocarpa was in gorgeous bloom. I did a little shorts video on this beauty the other day, so do check that out on my channel, on my shorts, of this little cutie in bloom. Absolutely lovely to see the blooms in winter time. And that's doing well. Actually, there's more blooms come on it since as well. A lot of them sort of fell off when we had that cold weather. I kept coming in here and finding loads on the floor, but happy to see a lot of the blooms have still managed to stay on and open. And there's some little berries as well, full of seeds. Very exciting. And then here I have some more Rhipsalis varieties. This is one that makes a lovely hanging basket. This one as well, Rhipsalis terres. And full of berries as well, be lots of fruits in there, which is really exciting. And another epiphyllum there, And as I mentioned in my part 1, I have a lot of hanging basket plants up here, epiphyllums and the slumbergias, and my big old favourite here, my lovely monkey's tail cactus, and that's still holding on to its buds, so I don't think that is going to I think they'll fall off in the spring, but it was late coming into bud this year. And my Slumbergia Buckley, true Christmas cactus, they're still full of bud as well. So I think I've pretty much covered everything. Let me know if I've missed anything out, guys, because I have the world's worst brain fog, especially in the mornings. And here is my zigzag, one of my zigzag cacti. I've got a couple upstairs in the house, and this, sadly, it's going to be okay, but this has got a few damage from the cold as well. I noticed, as you can see there, it's a little bit cold sensitive, and also, I don't know whether you can see there because the light is not brilliant, this here has gone soft, so I'm going to have to prune this back in the spring as well. But other than that, pretty much okay, and roll on spring, I say, because I just can't stand the winter. I hate it, and I really just count the days to the spring. So looking forward to what spring offers and the future blooms that coming up very soon in the next few months, hopefully, once spring arrives. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, and as I say, do check out part 1, and then you know what's happening on this side of the table. And if you haven't done already, please do subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you can be notified when I upload new videos. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And I want to wish you all an amazing cactus and succulent powered day.